Hello everyone, I'm Marty Pospisil and welcome to my May 2021 market update. I'm going to jump right into it. Welcome and thank you for joining us. So one of the first things I like to highlight just before I get into my market update is the metric I use to track the activity in the market, and it is indeed called the sales ratio. Now the sales ratio is merely the absorption rate of product into the market on a monthly basis. If less than 11% is absorbed in a month, it is a buyer's market favoring the buyers. There's downward pressure on prices. If it's between 12 and 20%, it's a balanced market, doesn't favor the buyers or the sellers. But if the sales ratio or absorption rate is greater than 21%, we're indeed in a seller's market and there's upward pressure on pricing. And it's this balance which determines price fluctuation. So let's jump right into it. Look at our market Speedo. So we're seeing a very interesting activity taking place in our market where we're seeing a little bit of cresting. The new market activity is going to continue for a little bit of time still, we think, because the sales ratio right now is at a consistent 42%. So that's double what we need for our market to stay very active and to have upward pressure on the pricing. So if we jump into looking at the overall view for Metro Vancouver, we see that total listings are up. We're at 6,260. It's up from last year, year over year. And total sales are up significantly from last year as well. And sale prices overall are up as well. We're going to go into more detail on those on my table that I've prepared today. Some very, very incredible numbers here. Let's look at detached houses sales activity year over year. So since last year, the activity on detached houses has gone up 326%. An incredible change in activity since last year. The benchmark price for detached houses in Metro Vancouver year over year is up 21%. And the benchmark price since last month is up 3.2%. Very consistent growth in pricing month over month on the detached, attached, and condo market. If we jump into the attached townhomes and duplexes, since this time last year, the activity is up 342%. Incredible. And benchmark price year over year for attached product is up 14%. And since last month, prices are up 3.3% townhomes and duplexes. If we look at condos, we are seeing again incredible increase in activity since this time last year, up 355%. The benchmark price year over year for condos from this time last year up 6%, and since last month up 1.9%. Now you may have already seen this in the media over the last 24 hours, but last month's sales were 56.2% higher than the 10-year. It's 56.2% higher above our 10-year April sales average, and it's the highest total of sales activity ever posted for the previous month. So we're seeing a record amount of activity last year that's never been posted on a monthly basis since we started to track this activity. So very, very interesting month we had. And if we pop into the next photo, I've just got a photo of a few of our happy sellers that have taken advantage of that and sold their homes over that busy period. The factors that are driving the market have not changed dramatically. There are some slight changes. The first factor, money being cheap. The interest rates are starting to rise slightly. We used to be down in that range. We're now between 2 and 2.5% for variable fixed rates, depending on the term. Savings, of course, are up, but people are spending. So the spending's well underway. There's still some money left, I think, for people to buy real estate. So that is continuing for now. The demand for more space, again, across all product and for every age group, that demand for space is still there. We're seeing people upgrading from 1 to 2 bedrooms to townhomes, half duplexes to detached houses. And one of the most important factors that the consumers are looking for out there when they're looking at product is outdoor space. How much of it? Where is it? What's the exposure? Very important for that more space factor, the driver. And again, the last driver, which I'll look at, supply is still relatively low for product, but we are seeing the inventory beginning to increase. And I'll show you a couple graphs later on that show that. So again, upward pressure in the market, it continues to remain strong for now. We certainly have had some very exciting activity from our point of view through our brokerage. Just to give you a little snippet, if you look actually on my 60-second activity report, if you're in YouTube, it will just be to the left of you. If you're on Facebook, it will just be below me, showing one of the homes that we just sold in the last 48 hours. This live stream video had 7,100 views. Just an incredible amount of people out there actively looking for homes. We're having to do a lot of things virtually now for increasing the safety concern that the consumer has out there before they make that commitment to go to a private showing. And we're getting incredible results with that. So what's hot and what's not right now? Let's jump right into that. Again, we're going to be looking at the sales ratio, that absorption rate. And again, a reminder, anything over 21% is considered a seller's market, and we've got upward pressure on pricing, and that will continue as long as we remain in that seller's market. So let's look at detached houses, Vancouver West Side. We are still in a good seller's market at 22%. And that's the interesting note is, though, that's a little bit down from last month. We were at 28% in the previous month. We've dropped slightly down to 22% for detached houses West Side. Let's go to condos and townhomes West Side. We're at a very strong 40% sales ratio. You can see the price bands in the neighborhoods here. But again, we're slightly down from last month at 46%. Very interesting, but still very strong. Still upward pressure on pricing. Condos and townhomes downtown, which I've isolated into a separate area, is at 31%. Still very, very stable seller's market, upward pressure on pricing. But compared to last month, if you saw my last month's market report, we were at 51%. So that's quite interesting. And detached houses, Vancouver East Side, still very strong at 35% sales ratio. But we're down from 53% last month. So again, slight drop in the sales ratio. Condos and townhomes in the east side were at 59%, very strong seller's market. But again, if you remember last month, we were at 84%. Whoa, crazy. Still pretty crazy at 59%, triple of what we need for a seller's market. So very, very active in those categories. What's happening in the burbs? Quite interesting and not surprising by what I've just showed you. Detached monthly variance from last month, all the sales ratios have a slight drop. Not a dramatic drop, but a slight drop, and that is across all areas. If we look at attached, similar story. We've got drops in all the sales ratios in the suburbs, except for one. Port Moody sales ratio is 120%. That's the only outlier. What is happening next? What's the forecast? Wish we could all tell the future. I'll give you my view on what's happening and what's going to happen. One of the first factors I like to look at is what phase are we in the vaccination process in BC. We've just entered phase 4, where they're vaccinating 59 to 18-year-olds. I got my shot on Monday. It was awesome. Everyone was friendly. We were chatting with people in line. People are excited. This is starting to get through the population, and that is offering more consumer confidence and also aiding our market as more and more people get vaccinated. So the actual reported cases for COVID-19, as you can see, we've hit a plateau and there seems to be a tapering, and the number of hospitalizations, more importantly, again, you've seen a cresting there, a plateau, and even a slight drop, offering again more consumer confidence that there is some light at the end of the tunnel impacting our market. Now here's the inventory graphs that I've pulled up that I wanted to show you, the 13-month trends, and I've just pulled a few up to show you. Houses West Side, you can see over the last few months have been trending upwards from 400 to 513 to 623, almost 100 additional units coming up per month on that market. If we look at condos, townhomes on the west side, you can also see slightly increasing, not quite as dramatic, but increasing number of inventory increasing throughout the west side for attached. And just to pull up another one, I did houses on the east side. Again, you can see a big swing over the last month of detached houses coming on the east side. So that's quite interesting to look at. Overall forecast for 2021, as you remember, my forecast from the beginning of the year was an average increase of 15%. Well, we're pretty well bang on so far. Those are the increases every month, and right now we're at 12.3%. We're starting to see those sales ratios crest. Are we at that peak? I still think there's some good life left in the market. With the vaccinations coming in May, the government spending more money, those are all going to have an impact. But eventually we're going to see that adjustment coming up. Could be as much as 20, 35%, could even be a bit more. Factors that are going to impact the timing of this correction are, of course, the rollout campaign for COVID-19, as we're talking about. Number two, the government tax changes. That's going to come at some point. Pretty well everyone's talking about it, but probably not until we get that majority government for the federal election. I'll show you that in the graph coming shortly. And the government stimulus package, again, our government has committed billions and billions of dollars in further stimulus for the latest wave, and that is, of course, contributing to our already massive debt. But these factors will play a role in the timing of that adjustment or correction, or whatever you want to call it, is going to happen. We just don't know exactly when. So this is, I threw this up just out of interest, again, from the beginning of time in 1977 to today. I always like looking at Detached, the blue graph. You can see how things just took off. There's that first little dip when COVID hit back in March of last year, and then a complete steady but sharp increase in pricing. Where does that go? Where does it end? If we only knew. That's kind of cool to look at. Here is sort of a graphical format of my market forecast. We have high pent-up buyer demand. People are still looking for more space. People still have money to spend. The vaccine program's in full swing. These are all awesome things. Interest rates are still low, 2%, 2.5%. These are great rates. The economy's booming. Consumer confidence is out there. The weather's getting better. The flowers are blooming. Everything's looking pretty rosy. The federal government's budget was actually not damaging to the market. I think they're holding off until they do form a majority government again, so we're not seeing much interference there. And prices have increased almost, at my estimated, 15%. So we're pretty well bang on there in the forecasting. But when are they going to call that election? Because I think these heavy changes that may be coming won't likely take place until they formed a majority government. Wouldn't bode well in the election process, but eventually we'll see some introduction of new tax measures to deal with this massive debt that has been accumulated over the last year and a half. The pandemic assistance programs, of course, will eventually end. The mortgage rates are already starting to rise. Sellers will begin to list en masse, much steeper than the graphs I've just showed you. And of course, the buyers will hold back because everybody thinks prices will fall, and surprise, surprise, that's when the prices will fall. So that's that correction period, and prices could drop anywhere from 20 to 35%. Again, it's a forecast. Something's going to happen, and this could very well be the case. So we're going to see when that happens, rising inflation, rising interest rates, and of course, rising tax rates. Really good, nice things to look forward to. So that's my May 2021 market update. Still very hot. Probably going to continue for some time. There's going to be a change. There's certain triggers that will trigger that, certain things that will trigger that change. If you have any specific questions on any of the material I've covered, I'd be more than happy to answer them. There's my email address. And again, if you are a YouTube subscriber, please subscribe to the site to be kept up to date. Or if you're on Facebook, you can like us on Facebook, and you will be notified when we do new posts. Once again, I really wanted to thank you for watching this update. I enjoy doing them. I hope you find them informative, and I wanted to wish you a great month. It's crazy out there. The weather's just incredible. We are getting the odd rain, but we need that to keep Vancouver green. Stay safe, stay happy, and we'll see you next month.